Great. Well, welcome back, everybody. And for those of you who are joining us on Facebook, through the Facebook Live, welcome. This is Promotional Translation in Glowing Terms, workshop from Magistrade. And this is a quick promo video to give you a taste of some of the content that we're taking on in this workshop. And here we're talking about various techniques you can use to improve your promotional writing in English, and especially some of the differences between French and English. We're briefly going to touch on the aspect of using the imperative and how English loves to tell people what to do. So this is a key part of improving your promotional writing. Keep in mind that French is a noun-heavy language to begin with. So French is going to naturally use more nouns than English, but it's not just a matter of making sure to use verbs in English. You want to use the imperative voice and make sure you actually directly tell people what to do. So you can't be too shy when you're doing a promotional translation. And we'll take a couple of very simple examples. You can put this into practice. So this is from a major delivery carrier. They wrote, "La puissance de notre réseau de livraison à votre service. L'inscription est gratuite et il n'y a aucun volume d'expédition minimal." So this was from an online ad. And let's see if we can come up with some verbs here to make this a little bit more active and to just all out tell people what to do. Did anyone have any ideas, or can you think of any way you might turn this around? La puissance de notre réseau de livraison à votre service. So a very common structure here, especially the à votre service. You could translate relatively literally, but you don't have to. Remember that in promotional translation, we're rarely aiming for linguistic equivalency. We're trying to achieve functionalism, so we're trying to sell something, sell an idea or a product or a service in this case.
For à votre service, you could have something like, "We're here for you."
Absolutely, we're here for you. Sure, if you can find some way to work it into the sentence, we're here for you. And how about la puissance de notre réseau de livraison?
What about something like harness the power of our delivery network?
I like that, harness the power of. That's quite powerful. I didn't go quite that far in my own translation, but that certainly works nicely. Harness the power of. In that case, you want to think about, who your carrier is and whether power is maybe a key word that they're using in their advertising, and it's part of their, their brand and all that kind of thing. But you're definitely on the right track there. And how about l'inscription est gratuite et il n'y a aucun volume d'expédition minimal? I think we can, maybe cut this a bit shorter in English. So feel free to jump in if you have any suggestions. L'inscription est gratuite.
Sign up, it's free.
Sign up, it's free. Absolutely, very nice. Good, okay. So I'll show you how I ended up translating this, and it's very similar to what we've been saying. I just backed off a little bit from harness the power. I wrote, put the strength of our delivery network to work for you. And notice I'm ending with you to maximize the audience benefits. And the end of the sentence is a great place to put you because it's the culminating point of sentences very frequently. So it's a good way to catch the reader's eye. Free to sign up, no minimum shipping requirements. So again, you can keep things really short if you know you're just doing an online ad. And you don't even really need complete sentences. So those are some differences too, as opposed to flowing text. You don't always have to have complete sentences for online ads. Remember that people who read online read differently than people who are reading on paper. They're going to be skimming most of the time and their eyes will be jumping around frequently. So you want to keep things short and sweet. All right, we're going to look at one more example. So again, working on giving orders. And I can go ahead and read this, or would one of our participants like to read it out? Giving orders, expérience unique. Any sacrificial victims? No? Okay, you'll have to put up with my accent then. Expérience unique dans notre coin de paradis naturel dans l'arrière-pays, les adeptes pourront gravir le mont et redescendre dans des versants délimités et ayant fait l'objet d'un aménagement minimaliste. Un produit unique dans la région et des journées épiques inoubliables. Gageons que vous voudrez remonter plus d'une fois. So this is from a small mountain that previously just had hiking, and they opened it up to a little bit of skiing. So they were just starting out with some skiing slopes. And they were kind of trying to get the idea across that this is a great place to come spend a day on the slopes. And they also want to make sure that they're telling the reader that, this isn't a full on, this isn't Owl's Head or something, or Jay's Peak. This is really just, some trails that are marked out that are basically ready for skiing, but nothing more. So you kind of want to get that across, but make it sound like a positive and make it sound like people can go out in the wild and ski in this safe yet wild environment. There's actually quite a lot that you have to work on to make this attractive in English. And then we have this word aménagement, ayant fait l'objet d'un aménagement minimaliste, so a very noun-heavy structure, and aménagement is frequently a headache, of course, in English. So keeping all this in mind, I'll give you a couple of minutes, and for those of you who are joining us on Facebook, I encourage you to actually get out your pen and paper and take a couple of minutes and write down a translation and work on this a bit, and we'll go over it in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Hey Joe, I'm just thinking presuming that there's no lift or T-bar, it's put your skins on, hike up, come back down on your skis.
Oh, I see what you're saying. What they mean by gravir le mont et redescendre.
Yeah.
Right, that's a good question. How are they getting up and down? We don't really know.
Okay.
Don't really know. I imagine that they, like you said, they probably have those simple lifts that just kind of drag you up. That would be my best guess. They surely have some way of getting skiers back up to the top. But we don't really know, and that's part of the challenge, I would say, with this text. And while you're continuing to work, I'd also note, if you've ever translated ski resort literature, this is frequently a challenge, is that they have some word in French for getting up and down. And you have to figure out a verb that's going to work in English for both. Even though you might be going up with a lift and down skiing, you have to find some term that's going to work. Or you can use 2 different verbs, but you don't always have much context. So this isn't a unique challenge. This is something that a lot of translators are confronted with in Quebec when they're translating ski websites. So I see Barbara wrote in, a unique experience in our little piece of natural paradise in the back country. Oh, I love it. Beautifully done, Barbara. Very nice. I like that. So that's, you work things around into different places. I like how you did that. Just make sure, I would say, since the exercise here is to think about using the imperative voice, make sure you're ordering people around. So Barbara, how could you order people around? Feel free to chat in your answer, or you can speak up if you'd like. It's up to you.
You could say something like enjoy or come for what did she have? A unique experience.
Absolutely. You can simply use enjoy. You don't have to, find something very, very difficult or complicated, but make sure when you're translating something promotional like this that you have an active verb. And essentially what we're trying to do is to get the reader in the frame of mind where they're imagining the benefits of this text they're reading. They're imagining the experience in being and actually skiing and going up and down the mountain. So enjoy, absolutely. Enjoy works perfectly fine. Or like you said, you could have something like come enjoy a day on the mountain, or maybe something like come over for a day of fun. All depending on a number of other factors like the client and the tone, but some active verb. You definitely don't want to start off a text like this, especially if it appears online. You don't want to start it off with a noun. I recommend that you go ahead and start it off with a verb, and don't be afraid to do so. again, it's so crucial to remember the difference between regular translation and promotional. With promotional translation, we are actually not aiming for linguistic equivalency. So it doesn't mean we're not trying to retain the basic ideas, but the way that you express those ideas can be vastly different. And if that means throwing in a verb so people can picture the experience, then absolutely go for it. Great, and what did you come up with for aménagement minimaliste? Aménagement is a frequent stumbling block for us, isn't it? Working into English. Sometimes aménagement is something like land use or land planning. But here, since we're talking about a ski slope with some basically groomed, Diane wrote groomed trails, very nice. But we have to make sure we get the other piece of information across, something about the trail being, a very basic in a natural setting, okay? Groomed trails in a natural setting. I would perhaps go a step further and emphasize that they may not have all the luxuries they're used to having if they're used to going to, their major ski resorts. Because if you say groomed trails in a natural setting, you might also find that on major ski resort websites. Here we might want to put a little bit more emphasis on the basic nature of the trails. And how about, just to wrap up, gageons que vous voudrez remonter plus d'une fois. Did anyone keep the idea of gageons? Let's bet that, or something along those lines? Probably not, eh? Probably be a little bit more direct in English. Lily wrote, we bet you'll want to scale this summit more than once. Okay, not bad. With the we, that kind of works out. We bet. And I liked scaling the summit more than once. Reads very nicely. I would tend to perhaps leave out the we bet. And again, just keep in mind, we're trying to emphasize the reader's benefits. So you can also use you here. So I'll go ahead and show you what I came up with in English, and you'll see I really try to emphasize the audience benefits as much as possible. Enjoy a unique experience in a natural backcountry paradise as you make your way up and down marked slopes with minimalist amenities. A one-of-a-kind experience in the region for epic days of fun. You'll want to go back up again and again. I'm kind of directly telling people what to do. Enjoy this. You're going to want this, or you're going to like this. And essentially, this is what you'll frequently see in promotional translation, where English will order people around directly, tell people what to do, and tend to use active verbs, and tend to use a lot of you as well, since we want to try to see things from the viewer's perspective. And as we'll see a little bit later in the workshop, we'll look more in depth at advertising psychology and persuasion. And essentially, when someone reads something like this, you'll want to go back up again and again. You're kind of replacing their thoughts with your own thoughts in a way. As they read the text, that is what they think, what they're thinking, You're kind of getting people in the groove, getting them to think your way. And that's why advertising copy is so powerful, and words are incredibly powerful. Even if there are a lot of images used in advertising, the words remain extremely powerful today in selling things, whether it's a product or a service or an experience, because you're basically reading into people's thoughts, or more specifically, people are reading your text and they are thinking the thoughts you've put there for them. So you want to emphasize what they're going to get out of it. You want to emphasize the you experience and the benefits and what they're going to do. In this case, I think enjoy is really the verb we're looking for, at least the verb that I would tend to use. One final note on this text. We don't know what to do with the going up and down the mountain. You can simply say make your way up and down to keep those possibilities open. Could be one solution. I'm sorry, Lydia, did you have a question?
Oh, no, that was me.
Okay, go ahead, Signe.
Could you use the comma present participle after paradise and say making your way?
Enjoy a unique experience in a natural backcountry paradise, comma, making your way up and down marked slopes with minimalist amenities. I think this brings into play a question we had earlier. Who was it that wrote about dangling participles? Barbara wrote about dangling participles. Here, if you have backcountry paradise, comma, making your way, I think it would be considered slightly awkward because we have a problem with the dingling participle. The backcountry is not what's making your way. So even though readers would understand, I think a lot of strict editors would probably recommend that you change it in this particular case, only because we have the backcountry paradise, comma, making your way. I don't know if you follow my logic.
Yes, thank you. Perfect.
But in many, many other cases, the comma ing works well. And just to come back to our earlier example, see what we had earlier. A mark or line is an extension of a physical movement, comma, leaving behind a trace. So here the mark or line remains the subject, so that comma ing is not a dangling participle. But here, if we do switch it around and have enjoy unique experience in a natural backcountry paradise, comma, making your way, it's perhaps slightly less clear because we're starting with that verb. So it's a subtle point, but you might see that your editor will edit that out and say, let's change it here to avoid any kind of appearance of having a dangling participle. So excellent question. I'm glad you asked it. Does anybody else have any questions? Did you have any great solutions that you'd like to share with the group? No? Speak now or forever hold your peace. I love the suggestions that you're coming up with. And for those of you who joined us on Facebook Live, thank you for dropping in. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of this really brief promo video. You can look at, again, how in English we tend to directly give orders. We're not afraid to do so in English. And so when you translate from French into English and you're doing promotional text, you can't be afraid of using those active verbs. And again, those you statements and ordering people around. So thank you very much. I hope it's been helpful and take care.